Snow pressed softly against the windows of the Bluebell Diner, settling in quiet layers that blurred the glow of the Christmas lights outside. The town felt hollow that night, like everyone had vanished into warm living rooms and closed doors. Inside the diner, the hum of the old refrigerator and the faint clink of dishes were the only sounds keeping the silence from becoming too loud. Mara Ellison stood behind the counter, wiping it slowly, even though it was already clean. Her movements were tired, practiced, as if her body knew what to do, even when her heart felt heavy. Her hair was pulled back into a loose bun that had started to fall apart hours ago, and the ache in her feet reminded her she'd been standing since early afternoon. Christmas night wasn't supposed to look like this. It wasn't supposed to feel this empty. She glanced toward booth 3, the only occupied seat in the diner. The man sat the way he always did, straight-backed, quiet, hands wrapped around a chipped coffee mug. His jacket looked heavy, worn at the edges, the kind that had seen years of weather and worse. His face carried lines that spoke of a life lived hard, eyes shadowed by memories that never quite loosened their grip. He had been coming every Christmas since Mara started working here. Same booth, same order, same silence. She lifted the coffee pot and approached him. "Refill?" she asked gently. He nodded once. "Please." As she poured, she noticed the slight tremor in his hand, the way his fingers tightened around the mug, as if warmth alone wasn't enough. She finished and gave him a small smile. "Thanks," he said. "You're welcome." That was usually the end of it. No small talk. No questions. Just two strangers sharing the same quiet space for a little while. Mara returned to the counter and checked the clock. It was almost midnight. 13 minutes left of Christmas. Her chest tightened as she thought about going home afterward, to a dark apartment that echoed too loudly with memories she tried not to revisit 6 months ago. She hadn't imagined her life would unravel this way. She'd been engaged then, planning a future that felt solid and real. Evan had promised stability, partnership, forever. But forever had ended one quiet evening when he sat across from her at the kitchen table and said he didn't think he could do this anymore. No shouting, no dramatic exit. Just a door closing on everything she'd built her hopes around. Since then, bills had stacked up like snowdrifts she couldn't climb out of. Her mother's medical debts swallowed her savings. The diner became her refuge and her trap all at once. Working holidays meant avoiding the ache of watching other people celebrate what she no longer had. The bell above the diner door jingled, letting in a sharp breath of cold air. Mara looked up, but no one entered. The wind pushed the door closed again, leaving the diner just as it had been, quiet, dim, and still. The man in booth 3 sat untouched food in front of him, staring into nothing. She wondered, as she often did, what ghosts he brought with him each year. Midnight came softly. The clock clicked over, and Christmas officially ended. Merry Christmas, Mara murmured to no one in particular as she poured herself a small cup of coffee. The man stood, reaching into his coat. He placed a folded bill on the table. Mara noticed right away that it was more than enough. "Sir," she said, stepping toward him, "that's too much." He shook his head. "It's right." She hesitated, then nodded. "Thank you." He lingered for a moment, hand resting on the back of the booth as if something held him there. "You shouldn't be here tonight," he said quietly. She let out a soft laugh. "Neither should you." For the first time, she saw the hint of a smile cross his face. "Fair enough." He turned toward the door, then stopped. "You got somewhere warm to go after this?" He asked. The question caught her off guard. "Yeah," she said, then corrected herself. "I mean, home." He studied her face, as if weighing something he didn't say. "Good," he replied. "Merry Christmas, Mara." Her eyes widened slightly. "You know my name?" He nodded toward her name badge. "You wear it." Then he left, the door chiming softly behind him. Mara stood there longer than she meant to, her heart beating faster than it should have. She didn't know why the exchange stayed with her, only that it did. 3 days later, her manager called her into the office. He talked about slow business and seasonal cuts, his voice distant and careful. Half her hours were gone just like that. Mara nodded, thanked him, and walked out before the tears could spill. Outside, the cold hit her hard. She barely made it to the alley beside the diner before her legs gave out. She slid down against the brick wall, pulling her coat tighter as her phone buzzed in her hand. Final rent notice. Her breath came shallow and fast as the fear she'd been holding back finally broke through. She didn't hear the footsteps until a familiar voice said her name. Mara. She looked up, stunned to see the man from booth 3 standing a few feet away. Concern etched deep into his face. "Are you okay?" he asked. She let out a shaky laugh. "Do I look okay?" He didn't answer that. Instead, he sat down beside her, leaving a respectful distance, his presence steady and calm. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Snow drifted down between them, quiet and unhurried. Then, as if a dam had cracked, everything came out. The cut hours, the debt, the fear of losing her apartment, the exhaustion of carrying it all alone. She apologized even as she spoke, embarrassed by her own honesty. He listened without interrupting, eyes focused, posture open. When she finished, her voice hoarse and her cheeks wet with tears, he took a slow breath. "I have a spare room," he said. She looked at him in disbelief. "What? You don't have to decide now," he added quickly. "Just know it's an option." "I can't," she whispered. "I don't even know you." He met her gaze, calm and sincere. "You know enough to know I won't let you fall." Something in his voice broke through the last of her defenses. She cried openly then, not from fear this time, but from relief. Mara moved in 2 days later. His house was modest but warm, filled with the quiet comfort of a place lived in slowly. Photographs lined the hallway, fire crews, medals, and one picture of a smiling woman with kind eyes. "That's Nora," he said when he noticed her looking. "She's beautiful," Mara replied softly. "She was," he said. His voice gentle but steady. They took things slowly after that. He never pushed, never asked for anything in return. He helped her find steadier work through old connections, fixed things around the house, cooked simple meals they ate in companionable silence. Over time, the weight in Mara's chest eased. She began to sleep through the night. She started to smile again, real smiles that surprised her with their warmth. And Caleb, because she learned his name was Caleb, Rhodes found something he thought he'd lost forever: purpose, quiet joy, the simple comfort of not being alone. A year later, snow fell again over the town, softer this time. The Bluebell Diner glowed across the street, warm and familiar. Caleb held the door open for Mara. "Same booth?" she asked with a smile. "Always," he replied. They sat together, hands resting close, not broken anymore, not lost. Just two people who had found each other on the coldest night of the year and built something gentle and lasting out of kindness. Some miracles don't arrive with noise or bright lights. Sometimes they sit quietly in a diner booth, waiting to be noticed. If this story moved you, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Black Sound. Tell us, where are you watching from today? Your presence keeps hope alive.